Bill's personal log, 2009-19. So Dr. Dylnn and his folks know of a farming commune on RQIII, and he suggests that we go and visit. It will give us an opportunity to decompress and to meditate and to figure out what we need to be doing next and that sort of thing. Begin encryption. Okay, this farming commune is in fact a psionics institute. And so the plan is for us to go there, spend a few months seeing if we're not able to awake any latent talent in anybody. And then we're going to seek out the cannoneer at shoot, I forget what it's called, but at the bug planet. So and encryption. So he arranges for us because it's a commune, very simple, minimal amenities, that kind of thing. He arranges some public transportation for us and gets us some clothing, and sets us up with a small budget. We get there with no real issues. It's what you would expect, some basic colonial-like shelters, lots of low-tech farming, more like gardening kind of stuff, and a central hall where everybody gathers for meals and that sort of thing. And it goes as we expect. There's us plus two other guys that are new. We have a little when we get there, we have midday meal. We go out and they show us the basic farming sorts of things and give us some assignments. We come back for the evening meal, spend the night. Next morning have the breakfast is fairly early. Go out into the field, come back at the midday meal, and after that there's another orientation for us new folks. Begin encryption. Mary is the lady in charge, and while we've seen her around, she's the one who does the introduction class after the midday meal on the second day, and she does normal things like everybody else. There's not appear to be anything special about her. However, she tells us that we're going to be joined by a Kazinti, and we figure, okay, that's Kira. Some arrangements have been made. Obviously, it depended. There's no question what we're going to do with Kira, and that would all depend upon whether or not the Institute would allow her to come here or not. So they did, and they smuggled her in. So she comes in, and Mary notices that we don't really have a reaction because we know her. So she talks to us a little bit about it. Well, how come you guys know each other? What's going on? And we do a minimal amount of explanation, just that we had had contact with her before. To all us new folks, Mary tells us that our first task is to develop our meditation skill, and she will lead and guide us through that. And so for the next week, Um, that's what we're doing. And we're able through this time and her help to train our meditation skill up to a certain level, very, very low. I mean, it is there, but are we doing any actual deep meditation, accessing our inner selves, that kind of thing? That's what this whole thing is kind of about. Um, and she explains that we can spend each week either working with her on developing our meditation skill, or we can attempt to tap our inner selves and see if we can't awaken latent psionic talent. And for me, I believe Renal was the same way. We spent the first 3 weeks just working on our meditation to get it up to a level where we can actually try and use it for something. And on the fourth week, I tried to initiate talent, and I'm not successful. Arthur, on this last week, he develops a talent. I believe that it was in anticipation. It's being able to anticipate the future kind of thing, I believe. Um, there's some discussion of do we just leave now? Oh, there was Kira built out right off the front. She has what Mary would call the seer talent. She can see into the far future and the far past. So, and there was some discussion. Oh, Kira goes one of her trance things, the eyes glow purple. She's done that before. And she says the shadows linger, and the longer we delay, the deeper the shadows become. And she gets physically agitated. She wants us to leave now at the end of this first month. And we're kind of going, why? What can we do? We don't have any. I mean, nothing we know about is, well, there's a handful of things we could do, but the big pressing thing is just get the kid here and then back to my sector. How's that going to change anything? And Mary's there, and she asks, "What does that mean?" And so I ask her, "Does she know anything about the invisible sun?" And she doesn't. How about the iron wind? And she doesn't. And we mentioned forerunners, and she says that they have an artifact that they got from the bug planet, actually. And she goes and brings it back, and it's one of those little statue things like we found on the ice planet. So Dylnn, I'm I whoa, really, that's amazing. Um, and I ask her, is it okay if I touch it? And I reach out to touch it, and I try to do my commune maliki thing with it, and it comes to life. So cool. It actually turns and smiles at me, and sure enough, it's got those sharp teeth. It's actually up the floor. And it speaks to it a little telepathically. And everybody hears it, but it speaks to me and says, "The eyes of Ular guard the ways." So I'm trying to think, okay, well, I've heard stuff like this before. And it was back on the ice planet dealing with the Forerunner and some of the things that she said. And one of the things she said was, "The eyes of war keep the demons at bay." And so I respond back with that. The eyes of war keep the demons at bay. Expecting almost like it's code words and I need a counter code back or something. But then it turns to me and says, "They are one and the same." And then the statue says, "If the eyes should fail, darkness will consume you all." And so I ask, how can we keep the eyes open? And that's not, yes, It's not in the same vein of talking that it previously has been, because all been kind of like prophecy kind of statements, right? But she tells us to seek the implementers on ancient Kutath, that you may sunder the shadows. And then it closes up. Murray tells us that it's never done that before. Of course not, because you've had no connection. And it seems that at some point, somebody doing their meditation thing is actually accidentally triggered this thing, which actually helped enhance their ability to open latent silent talents. So that's why they on occasion use that. And so we start talking about making an expedition to the bug planet, see if we can't find more Forerunner tech or something. And Mary goes, Lotar 2, that's the name of the book. Lotar 2. Lotar 2 is a bug home world. It would take a massive military expedition just to try and seize a piece of land to try to do any kind of investigation. But despite Kira's concerns, we spend 4 more weeks. I spend a week a week increasing my meditation, and 3 weeks trying to open a latent talent. I'm not successful. But Reynald is. And so we have another discussion. Okay, do we go? Do we stay? If we stay, what happens to these guys who have opened up a talent? Well, they can attempt to increase the depth of the things they can do. And we discussed the things they can do, and my cloaking talent is essentially psionics. And so I already have a talent, and it's opened up to a level where I can do some significant things. And what they can do seems very small. So I think they should stay. We should stay, and they should try to expand their capacity. And while that's going on, I'll see if I can't try and open up another one. So I spend another week increasing my meditation skill, and 3 more attempts to open a talent, all unsuccessful. I don't feel too bad though, because I've already got a talent, plus I've got that essence perceptions skill capability, whatever it is. So I was kind of hoping that maybe the psionics would be something different than the stuff that Maliki taught us, but it's essentially the same sort of thing. We said that after that 3rd month, we've got to go. And that's the thing, curious. We've got to take action. It doesn't matter what it is. We've got to do something, because just the fact of doing something will slow the spread of the shadows. Okay, well, let's go get the kid in here and see what we can do. And encryption. So we spend about 3 months here, simple life, decompressing, cleansing the soul, that kind of stuff. And okay, let's go back to Dr. Lind. So we go back to midday 2, meet with Dr. Lind. He asks us at that first day if he can come and meet with us over dinner. And sure, absolutely. And he asks us if our visit was fruitful. And we think it was. Then he tells Robin that he has some bad news. The star, Procyon, of which Procyon 3 was her home world, went supernova. The entire system was destroyed. However, the Inquisitors that were there, actually, when he said that, she just kind of froze and said, I have to go. So she went to her room, obviously trying to mourn and deal with this huge loss. And we're talking with the Dr. Dylnn on this whole supernova thing. I was trying to, did anybody get off, that kind of thing. And it turns out that the Inquisitors did, in fact, well, the Inquisitors, when they began their acculturation process, discovered that there were bugs on the planet. And we knew that because they were in the inner city. And soon after that, the sun went supernova. The Inquisitors, it appears that all the Inquisitors escaped, but that they had brought refugees with them. Most of them went to Rand space, but there are some refugees that deferred here to the free world space. And the Mercantile League is working out how to patriate them. And Dr. Dylnn says, maybe if we get a list of folks that Robin's looking for, we might be able to find out if, in fact, they survived. So I go, me and Arthur go and see Robin. Hey, they were survivors. You make a list of people so that we can, Dr. Dylnn can see if we can't find them among the survivors. So she makes us a list, and we go back. And Dr. Dylnn says that it'll take longer to find out if there are any of these people are in Rand space. And at that, Robin starts to almost freak out. That's not a good thing. And I don't understand that because they're both communists, and Russion was a Rand colony, so there's some basic underlying connection there. But she's not off for that at all. In fact, she starts to get a little angry. We must rescue them. How do we rescue people who are in the hands of the first church of Rand in the Rand Empire, right? I put out that they probably took them like to the home or the church headquarters kind of thing. And Randall said, no, he wouldn't have done it. There are a number of re-education camps throughout the empire, and they would have sent him to one of those. So Dr. Dynn's going to find out how many actually survived, how many are here in free world space, how many are in Rand space, if any of these people are in free world space, any of these people are in Rand space, and where the folks in Rand space are or may be. But that's going to take time. And so that turns us over to us. Okay, we've got to go get the ship, especially if we're going, well, if one of these re-education camps is kind of like isolated and not very well defended, then yes, something like the kid in here could just walk in, pow, 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 get people out, take off. So anyway, we start figuring out, okay, what's the logistics of what we're going to do? Okay, first thing is we think, the Marquis Revenge is fully prepared. To the Marquis Revenge, jump over the Goblin, and I'm thinking we just take the Goblin and go to the Bug World. But the Cannoneer is most likely damaged. Not for certain it is. I think we saw some of the damage from the footage of the Byzantine ship that was following it. And we've got all this repair stuff to repair this ship if needed, but that's all within the hold of the Marquis Revenge. Is more that could be in the hold of the Goblins. We got to take both. We have to take both ships, and we can slave them. We've done it before. It's not a problem. But then, what do we do once we get to the Bug World, Lothar? We get to Lothar. What are we going to do? Because you can't slave large ships. Large ships can't slave or be slaved. Just the small ones, 100-200 tons kind of things. You can do that kind of thing. You can't do it with a 1,200-ton battle cruiser. So Jane can certainly fly a simple point-to-point jump with the Goblin slaving to the Marquis Revenge. She can do that. It's not a problem. But the guys are kind of suspicious on how are we going to get all three ships back. And so I just put out there that we can do an autopilot with the Goblin going forth. I'm still trying to hide the AI because AI is still this hugely negative kind of thing. Psionics are also a hugely negative thing, which is why I would never say that. I just did. It relates to the last 10 seconds. In begin encryption. They seem suspicious about some of the things that happen with the Goblin, but that can be completely written off the fact that this is a ship from Mars. And its technology is beyond what we have here locally. Now, it's true that it's got an AI, but AI is a taboo thing, just like psionics is a taboo thing, which is why I would skirt around that. In fact, when I was talking with Ari, when he first, after the party, when we were first talking about, talents and potentiality and stuff like that, we talked all around it until he said the word. Once he said the word and I looked around and everybody else was cool with it, then we can start talking about it. Well, this AI is going to be the same way until something breaks the artificial intelligence bubble. I'm going to completely talk around it and mask it up. Now, admittedly, I can be a little absent-minded, like when we saw the pirate ship that was from our sector, and I just blurted out about it. Not them, that kind of stuff. It leaks out. It was kind of obvious when they first came aboard our ship that it wasn't a normal ship because everything was in English, not Iranian. Where'd you get this something? Well, we salvaged it. So things come around. Eventually, things come out, and so in encryption. So I sit down and I explain that the Goblin is a Martian ship, and so I go into this whole. Oh, also mention that en route from where we are in Lotar 2 is where the Stargate's supposed to be, and I, as a member of the Resistance, would like to get some data on the Stargate itself. How well is it? Get an actual fixed position on it. How well is it guarded? Are the Koreans trying to fix it or anything? That kind of stuff, right? And so they start talking about what's a Stargate, and so I go into an explanation of old Earth, and when I say old Earth, Hopkins goes, "Why do they call their planet dirt?" That kind of stuff. There's some language issues going on, but I go and explain that human beings came from Earth. There was the Sol system. It's got so many planets. One is Earth, one is Mars. In fact, I know all of them, all 8 of them. And I describe the Pure Earther Society, how they got all paranoid and xenophobic, and that there was a resistance on Mars, and how there was a Stargate in the same orbital path as Mars, but trailing it. And it got found by one of these resistance guys who was a miner. So they start sending people out through this gate. There's this event called the Freedom Jump where everybody who wasn't part of this paranoid Pure Earth Society says, we gotta get out of here. And they take off. And that's how they populated here. Then they migrated over to the CSA, if I remember right. No, that's how the Carillions did it. My understanding is we went to the CSA. That part of the Freedom Jump was there. Maybe part of it was here. And then we've got actual footage from the Goblin of her escape. She escaped just before the Pure Earthers destroyed the gate. Or the hidden rebel base, as they seem to have called it. So the Carillions 750 years ago just appeared out of nowhere here in this sector and took it over. 50 years later, they came over to our sector and took it over. So they've been migrating, trailing, Yeah, trailing. They've been migrating trailing. That's the word. Um, so I'm thinking they came here through the gate. If that's the case, then they're not going through either anymore. Oh, and the gate can be adjusted. I think we just talked about that. Maybe I don't know. But anyway, so let's we assume it's Forerunner tech happening. Um, and so after all that discussion, to kind of buy off on, okay, makes sense that the Goblin can be programmed to just do a simple point-to-point jump. Once that's out of the way, we talked with the pilot and scanner guys, sensor guys on, okay, now we don't need to jump right to the gate. We want to jump back far because we don't want to leave a wake. We want to sneak in and just take some passive scans to find out what we can. So we go, instead of 50 light seconds out, we go twice out, 100 light seconds out. Um, and we decouple the Marquis Revenge, sneak in with the Goblin, take some pictures. We spend, half a day just taking passive scans, sneak back to Marquis Revenge, and jump to Lotar 2. At Lotar 2, we're jumping way back out because we're going to come in behind the gas giant kind of thing, use it to block our presence, and all that kind of stuff. So we jump in, do passive scans so we know the layout of the system. Um, Park the Marquis Revenge, take the Goblin around, sneak in, sneak in. At the distance of the sixth planet is where there's that emergency beacon, red zone, interdicted by Imperial decree, hostile system, bug occupied, you know, leaping out, which is much, much further than the 10,000 light second jump perimeter where it normally is. And then there's an asteroid belt, and then there's the fifth planet, and within the 10,000 light second is another asteroid belt. I don't know whether the planets are connected to that. It wasn't that important. But there are, this is a noisy system. There is signature patterns all over the place because there's debris everywhere. So but there are no active Corellian ships in system. Now, Reynold and I think even Arthur had done some like mobile infantry work for the Corellians. The Corellians fight their internal battles because they're not going to waste their own people on it. Take occupied people and have them fight their wars for them. I did the same thing. Only I fought Kazinti. I didn't fight any bugs. So these guys know of people who have, in fact, fought here against bugs. So the Corellians, from time to time, still come back and beat up on the bugs. When they first got here, they attempted to take the planet and it didn't work. The Rand Empire had been fighting with the bugs for hundreds of years before the Corellians showed up. So we're sitting back here trying to figure out, okay, now, where do we even start looking? And so we get with the astrogation guys and the sensor guys and we say, okay, here's the astrogation data that we have from the Corellian ship on the Kinnear in the Corellian ship as they jumped here. Let's take that, transpose and backtrack it kind of thing on, okay, so where would that come in here in this system? And Magden, we do our best guess and we all start, scanning. This passive sensor, because we don't want to let anybody know we're here. And Magden spots a Kazinti ship. and it's got a massive hole blown right through it. And so we scoot over to it. It's got power, but it's not doing anything. It's dead in the water kind of stuff. So we go ahead and we dock up, get on the vac suits because it's hull breeze. We know there's going to be no atmosphere on their side, and over we go. We go forward towards the bridge. We know if we start going aft towards engineering, that's where the hull breach is, and so we don't necessarily want to go that way because we want to run into debris or anything else. That's going to get a vac suit cut up. So we head forward. We find the bridge, find the computer system stuff. Arthur's a computer guy, so he's connecting with Kira through his camera and stuff. And okay, she's kind of translating for him as he's trying to figure out the computer system, see if we can't do the same thing, tap into it, get his gun cameras and astrogation data on. Okay, so what happened after they got here? And he is getting nowhere with that. And so Arthur goes back, gets one of the Kzinti vac suits, and takes it over to Kira, and it's in fact too small. And we all start, what? Because she's a female Kzinti. These things should be huge. And she knows the nameplate on the vac suit is a female name. So she is shocked. In fact, I'm kind of surprised too. It wasn't that long ago, because the Kinnear didn't disappear all that long ago. But there were, the Kzinti society was more equal. Interesting. So Arthur goes back, and he notices that all the vac suits on one side are male, and all the vac suits on the other side are female. So he takes her measurements kind of thing, and he finds one that'll fit her better and brings it over. So she then is in a Kzinti vac suit, comes over, and right there with Arthur is more easily able to help him work on stuff. And I start searching the rest of the ship. I'm looking for like a weapons locker or something, just see what kind of weapons they had, and just see where's the bodies. There should be some dead Kzinti floating around here. And in the process of doing that, I find nothing's been ransacked. In the process of doing that, I find a room where there is a hull breach, a surgical type hull breach. It's been just cut open. And not Magda, who was it? I think it was Tindo. So I said, yeah, that looks like a breaching mechanism. Cut open, came in, and the actual control mechanism for the door on the inside has been disassembled. So somebody broke into the ship through here. Again, Arthur's not getting anywhere. So we go back over to the Goblin, spend the night, discuss things. What do we do? Where can we look? And Arthur's going to try and get back over on that computer tomorrow. And, well, he does. He gets back on the computer the next day. Arthur's just kind of doing passive scans, watching around us, because that's what we want to do is have somebody sneak up on us. And he is finally able to tap into the gun cameras or find the gun camera footage and that kind of stuff. And it shows a nearby vessel that's not Kzinti, and it's firing a beam, and that's one that creates the hull breach on the ship, like nothing we've ever seen. Some of the guys go, that's a bug ship. Some of these guys have fought bugs before. Going back in the footage, the ship loses power. Scan back further. There's a scan of the bugs boarding the ship. And at that point, we say, okay, scan all the way back to where the ship entered the system. Okay, ship enters the system, it flies in, we gather data. The gun is locked on the Kinnear, so we get an idea of its course. The Kzinti ship is chasing it, but then the bugs hit. Kinnear was headed towards the second asteroid belt, the one out by the sixth planet. So at that, okay, we got enough video kind of stuff. Let's see if we can get some astrogation data. So Arthur goes back in, and he's able to get some plot data on where the Kinnear was in entering the asteroid field. But we also notice that the maneuver drive for these bug ships is not conventional. They actually just appeared for the Kzinti. Kzinti did another color. So we need to be very, very careful with these bugs. And his personal log. Ooh, this is a long one, guys. 35 minutes. Holy cow. But some significant stuff sort of happened, and hopefully we'll be able to find the Kinnear soon. But after that, the only thing I think of is getting back to my system, and we've got to get all three ships back again. And it's just going to be interesting. And I know that Robin is going to want us to use the ship to free her friends. So maybe that's a little submission we'll do. 36 minutes, guys. Sorry so long. Happy gaming.